Good day, students of Ordoneta City. We are now on the week 4 of our fourth quarter. On our topic this week, test of hypotheses on the population mean. I'm your lecturer, Mr. Jeffrey M. Soriano. By the end of the week, we are expected to master the following competencies: draws conclusion about the population mean based on the test statistics value and the rejection region, and solve problem involving test of hypotheses on the population mean. So before we proceed to our lecture, let's have a review of what we have learned so far. So previously, we have learned the following. We construct the pair of hypotheses to be tested. We identify the type of test to be conducted. Select the level of significance to which the hypotheses are to be tested. Compute for the test statistic and determine the critical region. So to complete the test of hypothesis process, the next thing we have to do is draw conclusion based from the generated data. So first, let's study first how do we draw conclusion based on the test statistics that we have. So in drawing conclusion about the population mean based on the test statistic value and the rejection region, the following must be taken into consideration. So the final conclusion, once the test has been carried out, is always given in terms of the null hypothesis. We either reject H0 in favor of H1 or do not reject H0. We never conclude reject H1 or even accept H1. If we conclude do not reject H0, this does not necessarily mean that the null hypothesis is true. It only suggests that there is no sufficient evidence against H0 in favor of H1. Rejecting the null hypothesis then suggests that the alternative hypothesis may be true. Okay, kung matatandaan natin, H0 is actually the previous known established fact about a population. So if you do not reject H0, it doesn't mean that it is true for all the time, but it only suggests that there is no sufficient evidence against it. Okay? So avoid the words truth, prove, and certain. Instead, use the words support, infer, and indicate. Notice that the statistics is never 100% certain, but it states its limitation explicitly. So these are the steps in hypothesis testing. First, you have to identify the hypothesis to be tested and put it in symbol. 2. Give the symbolic form of the hypothesis that must be true when the original claim is false. 3. Of the two constructed hypotheses, let the null hypothesis H0 be the one that contains the condition of equality. The alternative hypothesis H1 be the other statement. So select the significance level alpha based on the seriousness of type 1 error. If consequences of rejecting a true H0 are severe, choose a small alpha. The common choice for alpha are 0.05 and 0.01. So for example, in researches in medicine, which is a very serious type of researches, they use alpha 0.01. And in academic researches like action research, your research in practical research too, we commonly use alpha, which is 0.05. Now, steps in these are the continuation of the steps in hypothesis testing. 5, you have to identify the statistics that is relevant to the test and its sampling distribution. 6, you have to determine the test statistic and the critical values and the critical region. Draw a graph that shows the test statistic, critical values, and critical region. Now, you will reject H naught if the test statistics is in the critical region. So it's a matter of looking at the computed test statistic, compare it with the critical values. Is it located on the critical region or in the acceptance region? You have to do not reject H naught if the test statistics is not in the critical region. And 8, you have to draw the correct conclusion in the manner easily understood. Okay, so let's take an example of how do we use these steps in testing hypothesis. So basically, we have an established fact that was previously proven, and then you have new set of data. Let's see if this new set of data can disprove or prove or further prove that known established fact, which is H naught. Let's take a problem. So this one, according to http://www.disabledworld.com, the average height of a Filipino male adult is 163.5 cm. Okay, so this is the known. This is what I've said a while ago, that this is an established fact that the average height of a Filipino male adult is 163.5 cm. That was proven before. But when we run a survey on a sample of 121 respondents, we obtained that the sample mean was 167.3 centimeters. So that was the sample mean for 121 respondents in a sample, which is higher than 163.5, and the sample standard deviation was 12.1 cm. Now, at alpha equals 0.05 significance level, is there a sufficient evidence to reject the earlier claim? So, kayang i-debunk nitong sample mean natin was there is sufficient evidence. Sufficient kaya nakuha nating evidence para sabihin na hindi naman 163.5 yung average height kasi ang nakuha natin na sample mean is 167.3. Okay? Is that sufficient evidence to reject the earlier claim? Notice that yung sample means kasi natin na mga makukuha would be sometimes maliit, sometimes malaki, sometimes nandun lang sa region ng 163.5, malapit lang, okay? Not totally 163.5, okay? Pero kung malayo kaya yung makuha natin na sample mean, based on pagka ginamitan natin ng sampling distribution of the sample mean, itong sample mean kaya na nakuha natin medyo malayo ba sa talagang population mean? Kasi kung medyo malayo yung nakuha nating sample mean, well, it's a sufficient evidence. Dito natin makikita na magkakaroon tayo ng sufficient evidence na i-reject. Hindi 163.5. Gawa tayo ng panibago. And you can disprove a known fact by using a sample. So let's see. Step 1, we have to state our null hypothesis. So the hypothesis average height of a Filipino male adult is 163.5. And it's symbolized as mu equals 163.5. Step 2, well, when your above hypothesis is not true, the hypothesis the average height of the Filipino male adult is not 163.5 is true, and is symbolized as mu is not 163.5. So ibig sabihin, pag mali yung mu equals 163.5, the next possible thing that will happen is that mu is not 163.5. Now, of the two hypotheses, the hypothesis in step 1 contains the equality and is the hypothesis we hope to disprove. That is actually our null hypothesis. That is what we want to disprove based on the statistics, sample statistics that we have obtained. Hence, we make it the null hypothesis. Ganun din, isipin natin na ang null hypothesis is ito yung established na fact before na you want to disprove. And the alternative hypothesis is the one that we claim to be true kapag mali yung null hypothesis natin. So in step 2 will automatically become the alternative hypothesis. Thus we have the following pair of hypotheses. Your H naught is mu equals 163.5, which is stated as the average height of a Filipino male adult is 163.5 cm. H sub 1 equals mu not equal to 163.5. Okay, or stated as the average height of a Filipino male adult is not 163.5 centimeters. So those are the pair of your hypotheses. Now, we will conduct a test of hypothesis. Okay, titingnan natin how true is your H naught. Okay, ngayon kung mapatunayan natin na yung nakuha nating sample is sapat na evidence para i-junk or i-reject yung H naught, okay, then we can conclude H1 might be true. So step 4, as specified in the situation, sabi nga natin, you have to determine the level of significance. Well, luckily sa problem ibinigay na mismo na you have to test it using alpha equals 0.05, so that's your significance level. But pag hindi in-state, pwede tayo mag-isip, tingnan na lang natin yung gravity ng pag-reject ng H naught. Pagka seryoso talaga, okay, sabi ko nga, sa mga fields in medicines, okay, well, talagang serious yung pag-junk mo ng mga H naught dyan, ang alpha natin para medyo malawang, mahirap kumbaga, para magkaroon ka ng minimal na confidence, maximum confidence interval, okay, ang pipiliin mong alpha is 0.01. Okay, pero pag yung mga ganitong researches, okay, you can use alpha equals 0.05. Step 5, the hypotheses are made about the population mean, so the most relevant statistics that we will use to test this is the sample mean. Okay, so our x bar equals 167.3. Now, step 6, the test statistics when the sample size n is large is determined by converting the sample mean x bar equals 167.3 to its corresponding z value, and the calculation is as follows. Now x bar is 167.3, your mu is 163.5, all over your sigma, which is stated, you can use the sample standard deviation, which is 12.1, in lieu of the population variance divided by sigma over 121, and this is equal to 3.45. So you can use calculators or any computing software para makuha yan. Okay, so z equals 3.45. Now, the critical values for z can be determined by first noting that our test is a two-tailed test. Since your alternative hypothesis is mu not equal to 163.5, you have a two-tailed test. So, we then divide alpha equals 0.05 into two tails to get an area of 0.025 in each tail. Now, the critical value z sub 0.025 is just the same as 1.96. And this can be found in the standard normal table. So we conclude that the other critical value is negative 1.96 because our normal curve is symmetric. Now the test statistics, the critical value and the critical region. Okay, so makikita natin dito yung bell curve natin. Okay, yung maumbok na part which is the acceptance region, and the tail suggests the critical region, meaning to say pag nakita natin dyan sa mga tails na yan yung nakuha nating sample statistics or yung z value natin o yung converted z value natin, that means medyo malayo yata yung ating makukuha, yung ating value. So, parang kumbaga napaka-imposible na bakit ang layo-layo nito. Okay, so kung titingnan natin, z equals 3.45, it's located somewhere on the far right, okay, far right tail of our bell curve. And it's actually in the critical or the rejection region. So, what does it imply? Okay, so note that the test statistic z equals 3.45 is found at the far right tail and is inside the critical region. Therefore, we reject our null hypothesis. Step 8, well, sabi natin, you have to form your conclusion in the manner na maintindihan ng karamihan. So, therefore, there is a sufficient evidence to reject the claim that the average height of a Filipino male adult is 163.5 cm. So, what does it entails? Ibig sabihin, baka hindi 163.5 yung, so nakita nyo, may word akong sinabing baka because I'm not still certain. Sabi nga natin, in statistics, there is no, unless specified, there is no such thing as 100% true. Okay? So, dito, sinasabi niya lang na there's a big chance na baka hindi 163.5 cm. Okay? It can be higher, it can be lower. Okay? But our evidence tells us hindi siya 163.5. Okay, so that's the end of our week 4. Thank you for watching. Always be safe, stay at home, learn from home. Goodbye.